Yes, thank you, Mr. Burla. Thank you, Madam President. And I have to say, it's for me a tremendous honor to be on the same stage with Mrs. Turecci. You've played an incredible role in the development of what is being done here, and really would like to thank you in the name of all Belgians for the tremendous work that you and your husband and your team, because no one is doing something on its own today, have done for global public health, which is a topic which is really close to my heart. Of course, thanking all the staff of Pfizer here in Puurs. I think we've seen here a lot of pride on this site, and rightfully so, because what has been achieved here, especially the ramp up from something which a year ago we were barely even talking about, and today producing it at hundreds of millions at the same time, it is something that rightfully so, the thousands of people who work here can have a lot of pride on. And I really think that the development of this vaccine was astonishing. The scaling up really is of biblical proportions, knowing that a year ago we were just making drawings of what we would be doing. Even in het Nederlands ook bijzonder veel appreciatie voor iedereen die hier deel uitmaakt van Pfizer in Puurs en de zoveel toeleveranciers, want het gaat niet enkel over Pfizer. Jullie hebben van Puurs een stad gemaakt die wij Belgen kenden, maar die intussen een begrip geworden is in de wereld. En van hieruit worden miljoenen mensen maandelijks geholpen om die pandemie te kunnen bemeesteren. We hebben vaak gesproken over de coronahelden. Iedereen die hier werkt is ook een coronaheld. Sites like this really are the backbone of how we fight this pandemic. Because of what you're producing here, but also the dependability and the previsibility of what you are doing here. If you want to vaccinate millions of people, this is quite some planning. And if in your planning you can work with partners who respect the timings, it really means a lot to us, but it also means a lot to the population. As Mrs. von der Leyen, you've called it a vaccine powerhouse, Belgium. I think that is the case. We have a quite exceptional position in healthcare, with research activity, with medical trials activity, and with also a great deal of production activity. And I think that's quite unique to have the full spectrum taking place in such a small geography. Would like to thank you, Mr. Burla, for the confidence you have had over the last decades that Pfizer has had in Belgium, and the continued investments that have taken place here. Continued investments, which means a lot. The pharmaceutical industry in Belgium is 40,000 people working in it. It's a yearly investment of 3.5 billion every year. It's 40 billion of export every year, and this year it's going to be quite a lot more because of the vaccine production. This is a result of choices that have been made over the last decades, which are linked to the knowledge we have, for example, in tropical diseases, but also some deliberate political choices which have been made, but also, and I would like to emphasize that, the belief in global cooperation. If you look at what is being produced here, the suppliers of this vaccine come from more than 80 different countries. It can only work if we respect global trade. It can only work if we understand that we need to work together in this, and this has always been our philosophy, that we want to play this role in an open market and in a market where everyone is respecting the rules. Above all, I think it's teamwork, and it's teamwork in what you are doing here during the day and during the multiple nights, because you've mentioned, your team has mentioned that. It's also been teamwork between the private sector and the public sector. And I hope this is one of the things we will get out of this crisis, is that when everyone brings at the table what they're best at, from academia, from the private sector and from the public sector, we can do amazing things. And what we have done over the last year really is amazing. We will look back at this, and I hope that this is a method we will continue working. When I talk about teamwork, specifically would like to thank your leadership, Ursula, in bringing all the European countries together and in making this a collective effort. And there was no other way for us to do it in a collective effort. And I'm convinced that in the long run, the collective effort will pay off much more than competitive effort that we see in some other parts of the world. Teamwork, also on the Belgian side, our vaccination campaign, we've reached 2 days ago 70% of the plus 65 population which has been vaccinated. This means a huge relief. I know people in my environment, my parents, for example, I've seen on their face the change of waiting for the vaccine and having received the vaccine. It makes a tremendous difference of the way people look at the world, and I'm convinced that in the next months, the rest of the population will have that gratifying feeling as well. Last element, I hope this is the start of an increased confidence of the European project, because I think we've shown here what we can do, but we've also seen what the potential weaknesses could be. And like with everything, I think this is a moment where we need to look at what we can do better, but we also do not need to be hesitant to point out what we have done well and use these methods much more. So again, thank you to you for inviting us here. I know your priority is producing, and I know a visit like this is not an easy one to organize. And thank everyone in Pfizer for the tremendous role they've played over the last months.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. It is not only an honor, but a pleasure to have you and Madam President here. And